Hey, welcome to the Dave and Dujanovic Debrief. I'm Dave Noriega along with Debbie Dujanovic. And every single day, and by every single day, I mean like every once in a while, occasionally we'll jump on after the show, pick one of our top topics, and discuss it a little further where we're not bound by constraints like commercials and stuff.
The hottest topic on the show today, definitely by far, was the Davis County School District getting set to release its new school plan in a pandemic. And when we drill down specifically on the mask ask, the kids are being asked and strongly encouraged to wear masks to school. Dave and I explored the question of, will you require your child, will you mandate your kid to wear a mask to school? So leave us your thoughtful comment. Please keep them thoughtful or we're going to have to delete it. We want to make sure these are thoughtful and it's good debate on both sides of the issue. Maybe there's more than two sides of the issue. Dave, what are you going to do? You're the dad. You have 3 kids going to public school in the fall. What's the dad discussion like around the kitchen table with this?
One of the things that surprised me most about school shutting down was how much my kids genuinely missed it. I mean, they genuinely missed school. And that was something I didn't really expect. I thought they were going to love it. I thought they were going to have so much fun having their time, sleeping in. No, they can't wait to wake up early and go see their friends. There is a social aspect that is huge for my kids. So going back to school is a huge priority for them. Now, how the discussion goes is, listen, guys, we're going to be respectful of others. We're going to wear masks. Are you comfortable wearing masks for hours and hours and hours on end? 6 hours at a time. If you are, okay, then you can go back to school. Now, am I going to be policing it? Am I going to be asking them to send me constant Instagram updates like, see, Dad, look, I'm wearing my mask? No, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to try to educate them as best I can. And then ultimately, they're going to decide whether they want to wear it or not.
Have you led by example in your own home by wearing a mask? Or is this sort of, do you feel like you were early on in the game, or do you feel you were a little late to the game from a lot of needling from your co-host?
You know me, I was the first one to have the face mask. I saw that bad boy right out of the gate. I'm not perfect. I am not perfect by any means, but I'm a good mask wearer. I will say that. I'm a good mask wearer. I'm not perfect. I'm not great. This is where I probably fall down the most. Softball tournaments. You know, when we're out, we're playing softball, running around, I don't wear masks there. It feels safe. But when I go into grocery stores, when I go into Ace Hardware or Home Depot, yeah, I throw one on.
We want to get your comments in here and read them off, and we'll react to them. Go ahead and leave us a comment here on our Facebook Live. We're asking the question, will you make your child wear a mask to school? The reason we're asking this is because the Davis School District is set to release its plan. The Davis School District, of course, encompasses sort of northern, it's just north of Salt Lake County. Dave lives in the Davis School District, and the plan will include many things. It's supposed to be emailed out today, one of which is, do you plan on keeping your kid home for school during the fall and homeschooling them, or will you actually send them to school? The other one is will you require your kid to wear a mask? We're asking that. With the Davis District, we're expecting them to do is strongly encourage kids to wear masks. In fact, they'll be handing masks out at the start of the school year. So we've got a question here a comment here from Melody Buck Forsyth. We will do homeschooling for 2 kids, and they want to. They're afraid to go back. The other one will go, and they are fine to wear a mask. They know that mama wears one for 12 hours during nursing shifts, so they can too. Wow. Thank you, first of all, for your service, especially during this pandemic. I would imagine it's been exhausting in a lot of ways that hasn't been in the past. But, I mean, I guess if I was Dave, a nurse, and I was wearing a mask all the time, I'd be like, what's your excuse, child?
Yeah. Stop your complaining. 12 hours right here. You can't handle 6. Okay. There's a few things that bother me about the mask wearing conversation. Number one, my biggest problem is we hate each other. We hate the people that don't wear it, and we hate the people that do wear it. How dare you, Debbie? How dare you shame me like this on Facebook? Right? That's how we look at it, is now all of a sudden Debbie's the co-host that wears a mask and Dave's the rebel. There's not a person within 20 feet of me, but I'm the rebel. But I think we've lost all civility when it comes to talking about wearing masks. We've lost it. And when you lose the civility, you lose the war. Because now all of a sudden people are drawing battle lines and they're not crossing over for nothing. They're going to die on that hill.
Glenn Turbo left us a message here, or left us a post here on our Facebook Live. I won't make children wear a mask. I'm assuming your children wear a mask. If you're going to do that, they shouldn't open schools at all. I disagree with that. I mean, I feel as though kids should wear a mask. If we know now, it's taken a while to evolve to this point, that we understand that masks are a two-way street. They help protect you from catching it. They also help protect you from perhaps giving it to others. If you have it, you don't know how you have it, you happen to show up in a public place. So why not tell your kids to wear a mask? We expect them to wear shoes to school. I mean, if the school called and said my son didn't have a shirt on or something like that, Dave, wouldn't I be right? I would be the first parent over there. So
Right.
Why would I not tell my kid? I wouldn't suggest them. I tell my kids, if you want to go back to school, and mom wants you to go back to school, and I can guarantee you dad wants you to go back to school, you got to wear a mask. That's just how it is. I would hope the schools would do this, though, and recognize that the kids are like that. Even though I know doctors and nurses do this probably all day long. My son's a first responder. My son's a firefighter, and he's got all kinds of gear. I mean, he doesn't throw a fit about it because, it's part of the job is protecting himself, keeping himself safe. But I would hope the schools maybe would give the younger kids more of a break, like
Yes.
at recess or something like that, where, I mean, I didn't, but you did homeschool them for several months. So I would imagine that just giving them a few extra minutes at recess wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Well, recess, at least the way I'm reading it from the Davis School District, recess is not the recess you're used to. And this is going to be very, very difficult for teachers, for administrators, for part-time recess coaches to enforce, because they're asking the kids to physically distance. They're asking them to stay 6 feet apart when they're on the playground. And if they're not, then wear a mask. If you've ever been on the playground in your entire life and seen kids running around, hundreds and hundreds of kids running around, and there are two recess people, 2, 3 at most recess adults on the playground, are they going to be asked to run around and tell kids to separate, move away, don't get too close, wear a mask? I mean, it's going to be brutal to try to enforce these things in elementary school recess.
And well, with the younger kids, I think by the time the kids get to 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, 6th grade, certainly, I mean, they should be able to understand the rules. I mean, Dave, I had a kid beating me up in 4th grade. Come on. He didn't
Debbie.
understand the rules. Come on. He literally punched me in the face over a game. Come on. He understood the rules. If he was going to punch me in the face, he would know enough to wear a mask. You're kidding me. So your kid knows how to add and subtract by then, but they can't figure out how to stay 6 feet apart. I think schools will do a genius job at teaching kids how to just stay apart as much as possible, as much as real.
I speak from a place of like sure knowledge on this. My wife is a recess coach. She's out there every single day with those kids, and it doesn't matter whether it's kindergarten through 6th grade. Every single one of those kids breaks the rules nonstop because there's a million rules, right? It's like there's no tag on the playground. There's no, running around on the big toy. There are a million rules, and they're all breaking them at all times. It's all you would do as a recess coach was just say, no, the entire time. And to try to tell kids to not get closer than 6 feet, it's impossible. I'm just going to say it right now. It will never happen. It will never happen. Administrators are going to have to accept the fact that recess is going to be the wild, wild west. It is going to be a free for all. It's going to be crazy. It's just the way it is.
Should we bring on another comment?
Yeah. Kathy
Can I
Bueller sip on my Diet Coke here?
Oh yeah, you have a sip. Okay, I'll read the comment. I will have other people's children wear masks if I am teaching them or checking out books and can't stay 6 feet away. I have had children cough in my face too many times, including the day before school closed. So Kathy, you must be a school teacher, administrator, maybe you work there in the library or something. That would be tricky because you're expected to teach kids and embrace them at school, but at the same time, you don't want them coughing in your face. I don't blame her. Put your mask on, right? You can't tell. I mean, teachers are we give teachers so much authority over our children all day long. We expect them to teach them how to line up. We expect them to teach them, science and math. And can we teach them at this point when we're in a pandemic how to stay as healthy as possible? If I were a teacher, you bet it. You imagine me, Dave, being a teacher, put your mask on, put your mask on, put your mask on. I'd probably get all the complaints from all the kids, but that would just be to keep me healthy too.
You wouldn't get any teaching done. That's where I think they're going to really struggle.
Really?
If teachers are policing it, all they're going to be doing is, hey, put your mask back on, put your mask back on. Eventually, it's just not worth the fight. It's the reason I don't fight with my kids every single day about cleaning their room. It's not worth the fight because that's all we would talk about. Our entire conversation would revolve around the clean room. And I look at it, I'm like, is it a scary cesspool of bacteria? Yes. That's their room. That is a teenager's room. But what do? Do I just fight every single day about making your bed and cleaning and dusting it? There's a certain amount that just not practical. These are not adults. And I think that's too often what we do as parents. We project our thoughts, our understanding, our experience on children, and they just do not have the same experience. And because kids are not affected like adults are, and older adults, I just don't think that. I think it's going to be impossible.
Is you're going to end up homeschooling your kids again. You really are at this rate. If this is sort of the mentality where teachers won't be able to step in. I mean, teachers tell kids to button it all the time, right? The chatty ones, button it, button it, button it. They tell them, that turn your homework in. They tell them, hurry up, finish the test. If they don't tell them to do this, then the other option really is that, and I wanted to tell the dad today who called in from Heber City, who was, I'm not going to have my kids wear masks to school. Well, then I'll tell you what, you will be homeschooling your children. In about a month, you will be homeschooling your children, especially because we're not even in the second wave now, according to, all the doctors. This is just COVID continued. We're not even in the second wave. And then once the flu season hits all at once, you're going to be homeschooling your child again.
So we know that children are not affected like adults, and adults are not affected like the elderly. There are huge steps, and we have some numbers, and I'm trying to remember exactly how many kids 14 and under have had COVID. Do you remember that number?
1,500.
1,500 of the, what do we have? Maybe 1 million kids in this state, and we've had 1,500 cases of the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. They account for, a fraction of the people that are actually catching this, and I think under 5 have been hospitalized. I mean, these numbers, our kids are not being affected seriously by this.
Our kids, Dave, adults are teaching our kids, and a lot of those adults are even caring for parents, and adults are teaching our kids. So we know that we just had a 41-year-old, very healthy Broadway actor die from COVID. So if the kids are
complications from the intubation,
horrible, right? I mean, he lost a leg. He was going to have to face a double lung transplant. I mean, it destroyed him. So who's teaching our children? If we're not keeping our teachers safe, then you're the teacher for the rest of the school year too, because that's just going to unless we can get a vaccine going. Then that changes the game at the first of the year. Let's get another comment on. Brittany.
Does the vaccine really change, though? Are we going to require vaccines then?
I don't know.
Require
You
some
require
vaccines.
Yeah, maybe they opt out. Yeah, hopefully. Well, there's suggestion that a certain percentage of the population won't get vaccinated. I mean, at least you prevent hospitals perhaps from filling up at that point. And I mean, that's another thing you got to worry about is you say your kids, they're not as susceptible, but if we keep filling up the hospital beds like we're having in Arizona now, it's why I canceled my trip to Arizona, is because it's so ravaged right now by COVID that I didn't want to take any chances being around my parents. But hospitals in a lot of states are starting to fill up. And so we always have to keep that in mind. I am super concerned if we're not doing temperature checks. We can't trust parents to keep sick kids home. 100% agree with that. How many times was I that horrible parent who said, look, I got a story tonight that's airing at 10. You have the sniffles. Get out of bed and get to school. I did that so often when my kids were little. And now I regret doing that. And I regret doing that to the other kids in the class. And I regret doing that to the teachers. And I regret doing that to my kids as well. They should just stayed home. What's one day of missed schoolwork? Brittany, totally agree with you. I get my temperature checked at certain places when I go into stores. I would agree. I mean, it might be difficult at first to kind of figure that whole thing out, but I think we check temperatures quicker and quicker with that little head thermometer that they use. So let's bring on another comment right now. Caitlin, do we have another one? Dave just got whatever technology destroyed his Facebook live feed, so we're getting him back on the line. Debbie Davis, I love your name and I love how you spell it. Thanks for your comment. That's why masks will be helpful. Kids aren't good at social distancing. I agree. Same reason I do this, Debbie. When I'm on a trail, when I see people who aren't wearing masks, I see people who are wearing masks. I put my mask up because there's not enough space to social distance on the trail unless one of us goes over the cliff. So that's not going to happen. I'm going to put my mask up like this and I'm going to wear it because we now know that masks are a two-way street. Dave, do you think that's a big part of the problem with this is that the messaging in the beginning is so different than the messaging is now with masks?
Yeah, no question. I think one of the biggest problems is we have, as Boyd Matheson says all the time, instant certainty. As soon as they said masks don't matter, we took that as gospel and we wouldn't move off of that. So when they change and say masks are everything, now we're having a hard time believing that as well. How about this? Masks are part of the answer. I am absolutely fine with that. But because we've become so singularly focused on masks, and the good guys wear masks and the bad guys don't wear masks, we forget everything else, every other little nuance. And I think that's why we're losing the battle on it.
I'm trying to see if we have any more comments, Caitlin, on our Facebook page. Pamela Beyer Massey says, I'm curious about what will be done with parents and children who refuse to wear masks. Well, what we know now from the Davis District's plan is that they will be strongly encouraged, but teachers will not be required to enforce the mask plan. I think this is going to put teachers in a bit of a bind because you're going to have other students in class that are wearing masks. You're going to have some that aren't, and that's going to create some issues. I mean, you're going to have teachers ask a kid to put a mask on, right, Dave? Or no? I mean, is that just a sort of hands off, stand back? Teachers won't be asking that at all.
I think in part, and this is why, because parents have to educate their kids, right? That's principally the parent's job, especially when it comes to safety, right? You don't want the teachers taking on every role of a parent, right? That's just too much. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, there's going to be some teachers guaranteed that are going to embarrass and shame a kid for not wearing a mask. And if that happened to my kid, yeah, I would have a massive problem if they're singling out my child in the front of their class saying, well, so-and-so's not wearing a mask, so everybody let's encourage him to wear a mask next time and not forget it tomorrow.
I would want
that's disastrous.
to sign a permission slip for the teacher to enforce my mask mandate from the house. Because once I send them out to school, I don't know what the kids are up to. I would want them to enforce my personal mask mandate at school. If my son shows up, my daughter shows up, and they refuse to wear a mask, I want to know about it because I'm a mask wearer. My kids are mask wearers. I don't have this problem. My kids are older. One's pre-med at the University of Utah. She's all on board with the masks. My son is a first responder. He's all on board with the masks. And our oldest daughter works in an industry that requires the mask and also requires temperature taking. Why? Because they don't want to shut the place down if everybody gets sick. So she has no issues with the mask. I'm not in this position where I even have to worry about this stuff with my kids. We wear masks. We're mask wearers.
Right.
Get the
But you're
coolest
adults.
kid. Yeah, that's true. But, I don't know. Katie was, what? She's 20. It's not like she's that far into adulthood to be making this decision. But I would think my kids would still follow this even in school if I told them to do it. I mean, I did have the mean mom look. It was like, they knew it. Debbie Davis, are you back? The coolest kids in the school wear the coolest masks you can find. Then they will be social influencers. I think there will be a lot of hopefully positive peer encouragement, not so much pressure, but encouragement. I do think that kids are more likely to wear masks than maybe their adult parents who are anti-maskers, Dave. Don't you? I think kids are much more formidable.
Yeah. The cool kids wearing masks. I think they're trying to do that a little bit. Davis School District is actually making masks with your school logo on it. So it'll be a Davis Dart mask that everyone can wear. And hopefully it's one of those things that people get excited about. This is cool. This shows our school spirit. Again, what we're trying to avoid, though, is the stigma, right? You don't want to create this caste system of mask wearers and non-mask wearers. If it's a scarlet letter that you have to carry every single day at school, school's hard enough. It can be brutal, and the bullying is already a massive issue. If we throw that tinder right on the fire, then we are going to have a lot of unintended consequences. What I think we need to do, encourage, educate, but also accept that there are going to be people that genuinely think differently than you and I. And if there are some genuine anti-maskers, what are we going to do? Are we going to scare them out of the school and say you're not welcome here? We don't do that with anti-vaxxers. Why would we do it with anti-maskers?
Bev the Master says, my two won't keep it on. So if they won't, then they will need to wash hands after each time they go to recess, lunch, or outside the classroom. So if you have Bev's kid, like if my kids were still in school and Bev's kids showed up and they won't keep the mask on, I would hope my kids would keep the mask on so it could better protect them, and hopefully better protect Bev's kids. And kids washing. So let's get back to that Davis district plan that we're talking about right now. They're supposed to release it via email, I guess, hopefully any moment now to parents of the Davis district. One of the requirements, or one of a number of requirements, is the kids will wash their hands regularly. And Dave, it seems like they're going to be sanitizing their desks constantly.
Yeah, it's something we can't get in our own homes. They can't clean up after dishes, right? They're incapable of clearing their plate.
But have you been more conscientious about cleaning your home since COVID hit?
Of course. Yeah.
I
But
mean,
again, I could take you into every kid's room and you'd be like, that looks exactly the same it did before COVID.
I'm curious what different measures you're taking inside your home compared to maybe a year ago with your kids when it comes to cleanliness. Is there anything in particular that you guys have implemented?
Hand washing and hand sanitizer, much, much better. I would say those are the two things that we've really made huge strides on.
How about your habits? Have your hand washing habits changed?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was always a hand washer, but I realized sometimes it was like a token hand washing. Now it's like
seconds,
like run them over water. Yeah, it was about as long as the sneeze sometimes. But now it's like We're going to sing the whole happy birthday song, both chorus. I'm going to add some harmony to it. That's where I've really changed. It's really some good hand washing.
What I didn't realize until COVID hit and we started talking about washing your hands, 2 happy birthday songs, all that other good stuff is, I mean, I pretty regularly use hand sanitizer, not nearly as much as I do now. But what I started to watch as I washed my hands, all the dirt fall off, and especially in between show prep, I didn't realize how dirty my hands were getting, just grimy. And it seems like, well, it's only been half an hour since I washed my hands.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how dirty they were getting. And so I think and I've also noticed this, and I don't want to start a debate here with this, but I've also noticed, thank goodness, I haven't had the common cold. I mean, the real bad cold that I get every time about, it was about April or something like that. I seem to get a really bad cold, and I haven't had that. And I don't know if it's because I'm doing more of this and I'm washing my hands a lot more, but I kind of hope so. I hope I don't get it.
Of course it would help, right? Of course it helps.
Hope. A lot of new lessons learned.
Yeah. I think what we're looking at, and we're going to be unpacking this for the next 6-8 weeks, I would imagine, as we're trying to figure out exactly how to do it compassionately, how to help the kids succeed and not set them up for failure. I don't totally understand some of these things. For example, we can't have our kids go out and play at recess, right? I mean, they can't get within 6 feet of each other. But we have protests that were happening hours on end, and there was very little, if any, spread there. So, that's where I think a lot of people are saying, well, why is recess going to be the super spreader when the protests were not?
Well, but don't schools have a responsibility to keep your kids as safe as possible? I mean, there's got to be something that in the Bible of running schools that says that if there's some sort of a health hazard or a health threat, that they have some kind of responsibility for making sure that your kids, once they cross the lines of the school door, in fact, buses, probably same thing, is you got to keep the school and the kids as safe as possible. So I can see why schools would do that. It doesn't need to, in my mind, it doesn't even compare to the protests at all.
Why not?
Because I would expect the school to do more than what I would expect people on the street in Salt Lake City to do.
Well, I'm not saying I'm just saying whether you support what I'm saying is whether you support the protest, that has nothing. I don't care about the protest, the cause of it. I'm just saying there were thousands of people gathered together, not social distancing, not wearing masks, and they didn't spread it. So is there not a lesson to be learned there? But you're telling me our, high school, junior high, elementary school kids, which will be spending far less time together than the protesters, you're saying that they're going to be the super spreaders? I think it's a fair question to ask. And sure, I mean, is it safer to stay socially distanced? Yes, of course. But so is staying home and shutting everything down. At some point, we got to find out what's a reasonable ask.
So I think that's a great question that we need to be asking Dr. Angela Dunn when she calls on the show tomorrow, on the Dave and Dujanovic show. Let's ask her that very question. Should we be taking more precautions at schools than what protesters are taking? Because if the disease wasn't being spread at the protests at the rate that we would expect it to be spread, can we expect the same results on school grounds? So we'll have Dr. Angela Dunn, state epidemiologist, live at 9:35 on the Dave and Dujanovic show. And we had one more comment let's get to, and then we're going to wrap it up and probably get some lunch in us at some point. Caitlin, can you put that comment back up on the screen so I can read it? Because I just don't have access to our Facebook page right now. We're trying out online public school this year. I figured that this is a good year to try something new. Thanks so much, Sarah. Dave, this brings me to the question for you. Do you have any doubt whatsoever that you're sending your kids back to the classroom if schools do in fact reopen in August?
No doubt they're going back. They're excited. They're energized. I think they'll have a new appreciation for it. For that last commenter, I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but
Sarah.
yeah, Sarah, It is a good time to try it out. I can tell you, I experienced it. I pulled my child out and we tried to do homeschool, and we were amazing for 2 weeks. And then I ran out of ideas. I ran out of curriculum. I didn't know what to do. I was great for the first couple weeks. It's very, very difficult. So good luck. I hope you have success. It was much harder than I expected.
My kids aren't in school like yours are. Mine are in college now. And so I am coming from a much different, like I'm not in that same space situation. I wish I would have thought about online schooling when my kids were in school. And I want to say for this reason, because life felt so crazy all the time. We both worked full time. I had a job as a TV reporter, so I never really had any specific hours, and I worked a ton, sometimes as much as 70, 80 hours a week. And I know it sounds crazy to think, well, you online school them on top of it, but running around constantly and trying to get to different activities and be carpool mom and all that other, I wonder if I could have better managed them from a home setting where now we're social distanced, even as journalists, we're working from home.
Yeah.
And now I have friends that are doing this. I have good friends in the newsroom that are doing it, and they tell me it is very difficult to do it. I would have liked to have done what Sarah's doing, and I just try it out. Just try it out to see if it does make it a little, and also maybe spend more quality time with my kids. Maybe that's a crazy idea, but Dave, I've enjoyed this conversation. We're back tomorrow, 9 a.m. KSL News Radio. It's the Dave and Dujanovic Show. Dr. Angela Dunn joining us at 9:35 sharp. We've got a list of questions to ask her, and we're going to including Dave's question about whether social distancing will matter on the playground or not. Any other questions you have in mind for Dr. Angela Dunn, Dave?
I have a very long list. I hope that the 9 minutes we get with her is enough to cover all of what I had to say.
It's good to see you again. I've been on vacation for a week. You've been on vacation this past
Me too.
month.
Yeah.
Band is back together. See you tomorrow morning at 9, David.
Sounds good. See you, Debbie. Thanks for watching, guys.